All right, let's talk about one of the toughest challenges in business. How do you grow without completely losing what made you special in the first place? How do you scale up without selling out? We're going to dive deep into that question by looking at the incredible story of Clover Food Labs. I want you to picture this. It's lunchtime. You're in Kennel Square in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The place is just buzzing with energy. Students, tech workers, scientists. And inside this one spot, it's packed. Orders are flying out. But it's not what you think. This isn't your average fast food joint. This is Clover. And the whole thing started with a pretty radical idea. And that right there, that's the big question, isn't it? It's the challenge of going from that one-of-a-kind local spot that everyone loves to a huge national brand. Clover's founder, Muir, he's betting he can pull it off. But he knows it all comes down to a series of very careful, very strategic choices. So where did an idea this different even come from? Well, like a lot of great stories, it all starts with a very unique person at a very unique moment in time. There's this concept called the individual opportunity nexus. It's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea is actually super simple. It's not just about stumbling upon a good idea. It's about being the absolute perfect person with the exact right background and skills to bring that specific idea to life. And Muir, he's basically the poster child for this. I mean, get this. He's an MIT-trained engineer who thinks in data. He's a Harvard MBA and former McKinsey consultant, so he knew exactly where the weak spots were in the massive food industry. And he had this deep personal passion, sparked by a report on the environmental cost of meat. It was this perfect storm of skills that made him the one person who could truly rethink fast food from the ground up. But here's the key. Muir didn't just charge in assuming he was right. He approached this whole thing like a scientist. He started with what we call an entrepreneurial hypothesis, which is just a fancy way of saying he framed his idea as a question that needed to be tested, not a fact that he was going to prove. And you can see his process laid out so clearly here. First, he actually went and worked at a Burger King, and what he saw was a system that was just broken. That led to his hypothesis. Hey, what if meatless, locally sourced fast food could actually be better, faster, and cheaper? But instead of risking millions on a restaurant, he launched a single food truck, a cheap, low-risk way to test the idea. He basically treated it like a mobile laboratory, constantly tweaking and learning from real customer feedback. This scientific approach leads us right into the first of three absolutely critical choices every founder has to make. Who exactly is your first customer? The strategy here is all about finding a beachhead customer. You don't try to appeal to everybody right out of the gate. No way. You pick one very specific, very focused group, and you win them over completely. You dominate that little niche. And then you use that as a launching pad to expand. It really is like setting up that first domino to knock over a whole line. And Clover's choice to park their food truck right at MIT? Absolutely brilliant. These weren't just any customers. They were curious, they were smart, they were open to trying new things. They were the kind of people who would give incredible feedback, and they actually appreciated the data-driven, transparent way Clover was doing things. They weren't just customers, they were basically co-creators. And don't just take my word for it. As Muir himself said, that food truck was never just about selling food. It was designed from the beginning to be a lab on wheels, an engine for learning and experimentation. Okay, so they've got their customer locked in. That brings us to the second core choice. And this one is a big one. What is the technology you're going to use to deliver on your promise? Now, when we say technology, it's easy to just think of software and apps, but it's so much broader than that. It's your entire system. It's all the tools, the processes, the kitchen designs, the supply chain. It's the whole shebang of how you actually do what you do. And this is where Clover just went completely off the rails, in the best way possible. While the entire fast food world was built on frozen, centralized supply chains, Clover made a radical bet. No freezers. None. Everything made fresh. They built their own ordering system on iPhones while everyone else had these clunky old registers. They opened up their kitchens so you could see everything while their competitors hid it all behind a wall. Every single choice was a direct challenge to the industry standard. But here's where strategy gets really, really real. Every big, bold choice comes with a trade-off. And for Clover, that radical no freezers policy came with a massive risk. In 2013, a salmonella outbreak forced them to shut down for a whole month.
It was a brutal lesson that the very thing that made them so unique also created a huge vulnerability. It's a perfect reminder that sometimes your greatest strength can hide your greatest weakness.
So they have their customer and their technology. Now for that third crucial choice. What kind of company, what kind of culture are you going to build to actually make all this happen?
There's this powerful force in new companies called imprinting. The idea is that the founder's personality, their passions, their quirks, all get permanently baked into the company's DNA. The company literally becomes a reflection of the person who started it.
And boy, can you see Airmir's imprint all over Clover. The MIT engineer in him, that's why they have a culture that's obsessed with data, timing orders to the second, A/B testing sandwiches. His belief in being transparent, that's why you have the open kitchen and a blog where he would openly write about his own failures. And that systems thinker part of him, that's the relentless drive to constantly make every little process better than what he saw at Burger King. One of his first investors just absolutely nailed it when he called Ira the Steve Jobs of food. It's that rare mix of an engineer's mind, a social entrepreneur's heart, and an artist's vision that really became the soul of Clover.
So with those three pillars firmly in place, their customer, their technology, and their organization, Clover was finally ready to face that ultimate challenge. How do you scale this thing without messing it all up?
And this really is the final boss battle for a company like this. Can a business built on local suppliers, super fresh ingredients, and the spirit of constant experimentation ever become a huge national chain without losing its soul and becoming just another generic cookie-cutter brand? And this is the real genius of their approach. As they planned their first big expansion into Washington, D.C., they didn't just copy and paste the Boston model. Staying true to their roots, they treated the expansion itself as a whole new experiment, with a new set of hypotheses to test. Could they actually build a new local supply chain from scratch in a new city? What parts of the Clover way were absolutely non-negotiable, and what parts could be flexible? The process of growing became just another test.
So when you boil it all down, the incredible story of Clover really gives us this powerful takeaway. Every great venture, whether it's a food truck or a tech startup, is built on the foundation of three deliberate strategic choices. Who is your customer? What is your unique technology? And what kind of organization are you building? This framework is so useful for any project, big or small. So, as we wrap up, I'll just leave you with this question to chew on. What are the three core choices that will define your next big idea, and how will you make sure it not only succeeds, but stays true to what you wanted it to be in the first place?